That is why we continue asking more and more questions from the client, development team, someone from the marketing team, or potentially someone from the end users. MVP, minimum viable product. This is something we hear a lot in project and product management. However, at the same time, it could be really challenging to define what the MVP actually is. Let's discuss it today, and by the end of the episode, you will clearly see how can you allocate the MVP out of the project scope. Hey there! Welcome back to my project management sandbox. My name is Chris, I'm a PMP certified project manager, and here we talk about managing projects, career in IT, and professional development. Today we are talking about the MVP or minimum viable product. But before we start, let's pause a little bit and let's do something. I know that a lot of you are not subscribed, and this is actually making my channel lag behind. Thus, please make sure to hit subscribe, smash the like button so that more people will get the value that you are currently getting from this episode, and we will cut directly to the chase. To start it off, let's recall what the project scope is. In a couple of words, project scope is a list of features or functionalities that are requested to be developed by the client. Do you remember how everything starts? As a project manager, you're receiving a request from the client to build some application or solution or website, depending on the needs and depending on the actual request. So what do we do at the very beginning? We are asking what is it gonna be about and why does he or she wants to or needs to build it. To get more details, make sure to check these two episodes when I'm breaking down in depth what the project scope is and why do we need to care about the business case on the project. Long story short, we need to get more clarity about the project itself. So the more clarity we have, the more transparency we get on the project scope. That is why we continue asking more and more questions from the client. For instance, we got the idea what the project is about and why should this be developed. Next, we need to define how actually should it operate. For instance, it's gonna be the mobile application. So, is it gonna be a native app or a cross-platform app? Is it gonna be iOS, Android, or both? Who are the end users? What value they gonna get? How the app should actually operate? As a result, most likely together with the client, we will come up with a long list of items that the client would want to include into the project scope. And at the end of the day, he or she would want to see it in the application itself. Now, here is when the fun comes. It's time to think about the MVP or minimum viable product. MVP is the essentials, the vital few or the core items the application stands on or can't live without. But actually, what value does it bring to the client or to the product itself? MVP approach is natural for startups. Basically, this is the first version of the application, solution, or technology that contains the core functionality within. And actually, MVP is really beneficial way to start the development, and I currently see 3 benefits within. First, this is the proof of concept, meaning with this MVP we are defining if the project or product at the end of the day can actually live. The second benefit of having MVP in place is that the client will get the product sooner to the market and will be able to start earning money sooner and getting the return on investment. And the third thing, which is not less important, having the MVP, we are going to receive the first user feedback really sooner, and based on this feedback we will be able to polish the actual project scope and to define the next destination to go. Now we are clear what MVP is and why do we need it. If you are not subscribed yet, this is the right moment to do this. And meanwhile, we are moving forward to the steps that can help you allocate the MVP out of the project scope. Step number 1, and actually the easiest one, ask the client. Well, this is his or her product. This is something he or she cares about and invests in. Chances are that marketing research was already done and the client has already come up with a list of core functionality that is must-have in order to deliver the product. So it is always worth asking. If for some reason the client is not clear on MVP or on the core functionality the product should have within, or probably he or she simply doesn't have enough information, move to step number 2. Use this chance and meet with the project stakeholder and brainstorm with them in order to determine what should be included in the first version of the product. As a reminder, the stakeholder is a person who can impact or could be impacted by the project. And let me know in comments if you would want to learn how to allocate the key people in this list. Getting back to MVP, make sure to meet with the key stakeholders to determine what actually should lay in the basis of the product and what functionality should the product include in the first version of it. The key stakeholders could be the client himself, the client's team, development team, someone from the marketing team, or potentially someone from the end users. And to do this, to define the core functionality of the product, you can answer the following questions. For instance, what is the purpose of the product? Who is the end user? What is the pain of the end user? What the user wants or needs? What's going to be the user journey to the application and through the application? And not only this, what's going to be the success factor, meaning what's going to be the successful end of this user journey, and does it solve the user's pain? By the way, this exercise would be also helpful if for some reason the client still doesn't have the exact scope of work for the project in general. And now it's time to move to step number 3 and set the priorities. This technique would help you to determine the MVP on the minimum viable product. This exercise is also done together with the client, and to execute on this, you would need to have the list of functionality in front of you. So what you're gonna do, you will sit together and you will distribute the list of features into the 3 buckets. Mainly, you will set the priorities according to the following list. The first bucket is gonna be the must-have, meaning this is something the product cannot live without. Should have is something complementary to must-have but not compulsory. And nice to have is some ribbons and flavors that you potentially can add at the end of the list. And guess what? The must-have bucket will become our MVP. And not only this, the MVP is our core functionality the whole product stands on. This is gonna be our vital few, and it's gonna give us the 80% of the actual result. By the way, make sure to check the episode about 80-20 rule and let me know in comments if you would want to learn more about planning the project. Thanks for watching. Cheers!